morning, everybody. How's everybody today? Hopefully good. I'm good. Kind of sitting here getting ready to do this next video, and I had a few ideas in mind as far as how I wanted to go about doing this, but I'm not going to get into all of the politics of it. That's not the way I am, but I know there's a lot of controversy these days, and I know there's a lot of controversy about this car, what it represents or what everybody thinks it represents. But remembering the show, and I've watched the show over the years, I don't know how many times. I've got this show, all 7 seasons on DVD, and I've watched them quite often. And the show is about, of course, the car, but what everybody kind of started bashing the show, talking about how bad it was for people and everything. And everything I remember of the show is positive. The 2 boys that drove the car, they always try to help people out. They're always helping people out. The family always sat down for a meal at the end of the day, said a prayer, and ate together. Yes, the car has the markings on it and such, but we're not going to get into that, I guess. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of, I don't know. Like I say, I'm not one for politics and all that stuff and everything that people say or bash about the car and stuff. It rubs me the wrong way, I guess. I remember growing up as a kid, every day school would get out, I would run home or ride my bike home to my grandparents' house, drop my books when I got inside, changed my clothes, grabbed a little snack, went in, turned the TV on, sat down, and that's where I was, watching the show. And this show is such an iconic show, and there's so many good people in it. Yeah, well, they've lost a few people and over the years and such, but I happen to watch John Schneider's channel a lot as well, and that guy has got some good ideas, good thoughts about him. Always a good channel to watch. If any of you haven't, go on over and check him out. Pretty cool listening to him. But I guess by now you've probably figured out what car is behind the sign here, behind my card here. But this is my take on the General Lee. This was built using the Revell, I forget which one it is, the Pro Modeler. The Revell Pro Modeler. It's just the blue and white car on the box. I use that one versus the old MPC just because of a lot more better detail in the car. Both suspension, engine, interior, so on and so forth. Some parts were used off of the MPC kit or AMT kit nowadays. Was it ever an MPC? I don't know, whatever. But the wheels are out of the AMT kit. Tires are Revell. Push bar on the front is off the AMT. Roll cage inside is off the AMT, and then likewise are the decals. I take that back. These decals are Slicks decals. The decals on my next car that you'll see are the AMT decals. Then I'll place the 2 cars side by side at the end, so you'll be able to see the difference in the decaling on them. But like I say, this was built using the Revell kit, just for the better detail in the chassis and such. Didn't put a whole lot of detail in this. For the most part, this is built right out of the box. Pulled it out of the case last night. I had to put the front suspension on it. Broke the upper A-arm on here somewhere along the line, and the front tire is flopping around. So. Turns out, it builds up into a beautiful kit. Revell does some pretty awesome stuff with their kits. The only decal I didn't have was the two flags that go around the CV antenna back here, but only decal I didn't have to put on here. Antenna scratch built. Well, not totally scratch built, but the antenna mast is. This is a base off of a CV antenna. I just drilled it and then put a piece of wire in it. That way I can take it out for transportation and stuff. Not bending or breaking a plastic antenna off. See if I can get the hood open here. Yeah, just do it this way. Yeah, always works. Like I say, just the detailing underneath the hood is by far better than the old AMT kit. Kind of why I used it. Or use this kit, whatever. Just a little 440 tucked underneath the hood. Now I'll try to get a little interior shot the best I can. The tan I use is a Rust-Oleum color. I forget. I'd have to dig it out and show it, but it comes pretty close to the tan of their interior. Let's see here. Dashboard's detailed just a little bit, not too crazy. Oop. I guess not. Thought I just broke the suspension off it again. Be about my luck. But anyway, that's that kit. This is kind of my nice, pristine, the show car, as they're driving around would be. The pretty car, if you want to call it that. Now, you've seen it so many times during the show. I don't know how many times. You'd see the car take off, land, and you'd see it buckle here, there, nosedive into the ground, and the front end would be all smashed up. Next scene, they'd show it driving away in perfect condition, like this car is. But how many times have they really, truly demolished a car on that show? If you ever saw pictures of their scrapyard or their boneyard behind their lot, whatever, there's a lot of cars out there that were wrecked. A lot of parts cars laying around and such. Cars that were just too messed up to where they couldn't reuse them again. Well, me, I like to build different things, as you all are probably realizing by now. The next car I built as the Dukes of Hazzard car, but it was I dubbed it the title "Jump Gone Wrong," and you'll see why in a second. I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna show you the good side first. This was built to kind of depict a car that was going down the road, swerved to the left, hit a clump of trees or a dirt, whatever, hit the dirt pile, corkscrewed up to the right, came down on the right rear quarter, and rolled the whole right side to the nose, and then lifted off and bounced off the nose and catapulted up and came back down on the ground. Is what, you'd have to be in my mind to understand, I guess. Some of you probably get it. But this car was built along with the same other car with the Revell kit. Just having the idea in mind of how the car would hit, corkscrew in the air, land, and then bounce and land again. Keeping all that in mind as I was building it to get the right damage done to the right areas to make it look correct. Air quotes there, correct. And I set about doing this. I did this out in the garage. I can use the edge of my workbench, or like I use the edge of like the concrete steps out front or the garage wall. And I use those for different textures or different angles of which to push a car in when I do this. I use a little butane torch while the car is still raw white plastic. I put the interior tub, chassis pan, tape it all together, and then I do the damages to the front or rear or sides, taking the tape off, of course, as I do the side. But doing that, I have to have, or I use a sharp X-Acto knife with me, or always have it with me, as I'm heating it up, and sometimes these will melt together. Chassis and body will melt together, and you got to use the X-Acto knife to quickly cut it to keep it separated. That way you can pull the car apart and paint it and then put it all back together again. That's how I've done my demo cars. You've seen some of them already, but I got a few more, or a couple more I can pull out and show them. One of these days, I've been kind of staying away from a tutorial on how to do the damage, just because of fire and such involved with it. If, you know, by chance a kid would be watching the video, I don't want the kid thinking that he can go grab a torch and start melting up a car. I don't want to be liable for somebody's house burning down. But when I started this one out, like I say, I started out in raw plastic, and I started with the idea of it hitting nose first into a clump of trees or a clump of dirt. And so I started there. I started smashing the front end down on it. Now this car was built to kind of more or less simulate a car that had been used in the show, wrecked, and then used for parts thereafter. There's no engine or transmission in this car. You know, I built it to, kind of had it to depict a car that, they use the engine and trains in another car to keep the cars moving for the show. I'll just kind of spin it in a few different angles here so you can kind of see the different angles on it. Although I could do something a little bit better here in a minute. This is the bad side. This is the side as the car corkscrewed up in the air. As it hit, it took off like this, came up in the air, and then came down on this side and landed and went up like this and then came down on all fours. So I use the concrete, like I say, when I heat this up, when the plastic's hot, I slide it along the concrete, and I don't know if you can see the grooves in the plastic or not. There's actual scrape marks in the side of the plastic here. You can kind of see it right along here. But I do that to make it look like the car slid on the dirt and it dug through into the metal and gouged the metal. Bent wheel, blown tire, flat tire. On these hard tires, I just take my side cutters, nip off the bottom of the tire, and then I take a lighter, cigarette lighter, or a torch, heat the bottom up, and then I just press it into like a tabletop. That gives me the flat tire look to them. Here you can see a little bit of a gouge out of the tire that I took a little chunk out of the sidewall of the tire. Once the body's done, then I come back through later and I do the bumpers and the grill. I bend them and heat them up and twist them and torque them to fit the contours of the body to get them to fit. I know on a real car, all this black, the grill work would probably blow out on an impact, but yeah, Broken exhaust hanger. This tail light was blown out. They pulled this tail light out for another car. Trunk lid was cut loose down the side here just to kind of show the separation of the two. The recorder, where the quarter smashed out and the trunk lid didn't. There you can kind of see the gap. Give you a little bit of an aerial view on it. The door handle is broken, pushed down, as you probably saw before. The roof is caved in, crushed down on this side. Quarter window back glass would have been blown out of it. Back window, you can see some of the glass laying in the back rear package tray. Drive shaft was bent during the impact, so that was tossed inside. And let's see if we can show the interior here a little bit. Fan and radiator shroud, busted radiator shroud laying inside. Center console blown apart laying inside. Other part of the rear, the radiator shroud in the back seat there. Rust and dirt inside. Slightly bent steering wheel. Steering column, you can see kind of drooping down. I pull it down to the ground and make it look like it collapsed during the impact. I don't know what black paint inside. I don't know what I did there, but whatever. Shot of the center console. Driver's side mirror. Half the mirror is laying on the dashboard. Other side, the pedestal still mounted to the door. Being that the car landed backwards, I shoved the rear axle forward just a touch, just to simulate the axle, the torque of the axle being twisted off the other side. Yeah, it's a fun kit. I mean, I like to, here you can see the axle's been pulled backwards on this side. This will just kind of let you take a little bit of the angle on it. Get a little glimpse of what it is. So curious to know how many of you watched the show growing up. How many of you still watch it today? I know my sons watched it quite a bit. He borrowed my DVDs one time and sat down and watched the entire series, I think. Or at least pretty close to it. I know he's always liked the show and what it was about, what it was. Just a good show. Give you a little shot of the good one. Like I say, these Revell kits build up pretty nice. They got a lot more detail in them and such, and make it just kind of a good kit to build. I know Revell's been putting a lot of good stuff out here lately over the years, and still continue to do so. AMT still continues to repop a lot of their older stuff, and they're making new stuff as well. A lot of model manufacturers now are coming out with some pretty awesome stuff. Kind of nice to see. And as I'm remembering, I didn't show you the engine shot, or the engine bay shot of this. Hood does come off just for transportation. I used that rusting method that I use, sophisticated finishes. I use that on this, along with a lot of the dry rust that I use. Just to kind of give it a little depth and a little bit of weathering to it, being that the car's been sitting around after the engine was yanked out of it. Windshield wiper arms removed. Windshield was cracked during the impact. All I did there is just took my X-Acto knife and just kind of wicked the blade just to simulate cracks on it. And then I weathered the underside of the hood, hinges and such. Oop, broke a hinge. There we go. With the power of video, we can fix the hinge and never even know what happened. Anyway, this is the two cars side by side. You can kind of tell by the difference in the decaling. You can see it more in the General Lee script on the roof, but it's a little different font, a little different style lettering, whatever. Flags are just a little bit different color, a little different size. Not off by much, but you can tell when you're visually looking at them. Whoop. But yeah, like I say, that's the two kits, two cars that I built. I started building another one, I should say, that it looked like it went up and came down nose first hard into the ground because the entire nose is pushed up and above the front tires. I didn't like the way that one was really turning out or looking, so I ended up scrapping that one out. Gave up on that idea. It's probably still out in the box out in the garage. Not even sure, but who knows. But anyway, just wanted to show you all my General Lees today. And I know a couple of people have been showing interest in them. They wanted to see them. And yeah, that's my General Lees. One that you can hop in and drive right now. The other one might need a little work. Just saying. Might need a little buffing out there, but anyway, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. Keep scratching that plastic, and we'll see you on the corner, everyone.